This is the brand new Ride and Times GT73 Pro, and it might be the best budget e-bike on the market, coming in at only $2,100. The bike has a top speed of 50 miles an hour and a range that most Surons can't even come close to. This bike has amazing throttle, headlights and taillights, a horn, and blinkers. On top of everything, this bike has pedals, which have pedal assist, so it makes it look legal, even though it technically has over the legal limit of wattage. Now, I've talked quite a bit about this bike, but let's see how it actually rides. So this bike has 3 modes, which are Eco, Standard, and Turbo. I'm in Turbo right now, and I'm going to try to do all of my testing in Turbo, because I feel like that gives the most realistic range testing. This kind of really lets you see what this bike can do. So it isn't really that new. I put 104 miles on it, even though I've only had it for a few days, because it is a really fun bike. And so I'm tracking the range here on that odometer. I started at 102 at the beginning of this video, and I'm also tracking on Strava just as a backup. So far from riding this bike, the range has kind of lived up, because that 80 miles the manufacturer says is in eco mode, but it still seems really good when I'm riding in turbo mode the entire time. If you go to the Ride and Times website and look at this bike, you're gonna see a 50 mile an hour top speed. I personally have not been able to reach that. I think you need to go downhill full throttle on turbo. I haven't been able to get it above like 35 on a flat road. I have a friend who said he got it to 52, and the speedometer actually is really accurate out of the box, so that's one nice thing. And the fastest I've actually seen the rear wheel spin, like taking it off the ground, is 49 on the speedometer, so I'm not too sure if that 50 mile an hour speed is really possible, or kind of what you should expect. But it still does perform really well. Like, it's not gonna, definitely not gonna be a Solaria or a Suron, but it's only 2,000, and it looks legal. It has pedals, and so they say you can get 180 miles of range with pedal assist. In my experience, the pedal assist is terrible, so that's not really happening. And also, if you're wondering why I have 3 keys on this bike, it comes with separate keys for unlocking the batteries and for actually starting the bike. And so this is my bike key. I have 2 keychains that will have the same layout. This is my bike key, this is the battery key, and then this is my bike lock key, that little golden one. And so you can see right there I have a bike lock. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I kind of like to strap it around the frame so I don't have to take a backpack. I'm gonna try to get through here. So this bike has a key start. It has an NFC icon on the screen, but I don't believe it actually supports NFC. But I personally prefer the key start to NFC start. And actually, speaking of that NFC icon, you'll notice there's a lot of icons on the screen that don't really do much. Like, you have a Bluetooth icon there. I'm not sure if you can see it on the camera. And so what I've been told is that this bike is eventually going to support an app, but it doesn't yet. So they have that icon there for when it does. So it seems like this bike has more hardware than it currently supports. But if it will be able to connect to an app, you should be able to update the firmware itself here. So that shouldn't be a big deal. I'm going to hop on the sidewalk over here. And so right now, I'm still on full charge. That's what it says. And one thing I've noticed, I might be able to show it. This bike actually does have really good regen, and it does tend to save quite a bit of battery when you're going downhill. So I actually really do like that. Because for a lot of bikes in this price range, like, I know some people compare this bike to a Tudio. It is more expensive, but it really is just better than a Tudio in most ways. So, and the back suspension on this bike isn't adjustable. It does come with an extra rear shock. I haven't changed it. And another thing, so you have the front adjustable suspension, It has 4 settings that it clicks into. I personally like to keep it on the second one because it stays pretty bouncy. I actually really love the suspension in general. Both the back suspension and the front suspension feel really, really nice. So if we do a little speed test here, you can look at this speedometer. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen. The screen isn't super bright. But yeah, we can get up to like mid-40s pretty comfortably. But after that, I haven't really been able to accelerate past that, even going downhill like I was there. So that's one thing. I feel like they do over-exaggerate the top speed a little bit. But it still does do really good, and it is a really fun bike. I'm not going to deny that. This bike actually does have a pretty decent amount of torque, but it's not overwhelming. Like, even if you start from 0 and full throttle in turbo mode, you're really not going to bring the front wheel up unless you pop it up. But if you just pop it up a few inches, you can wheelie. I've had a bit of trouble. I almost looped out trying on this bike, so I don't want to try again now. And because it does come up, but the knobbies also do make wheeling a little difficult. They are nice tires, and they are kind of dirt bike tires. If you go to the Riding Times website, they will call this an e-dirt bike, even though I personally don't think it really has enough power to be considered one. These knobby tires do pretty well on the road, even though they're made for dirt and call this a dirt bike. And so these tires do have really good grip on the road, and they do on dirt. They struggle a bit on gravel, but I feel like that's pretty normal for most e-bikes. But as you can see, like, I have really good grip here, and I went on a gravel trail earlier, and I'm gonna go on one now soon. And you will see it does kind of slip a little bit, or at least you can feel it. You don't like lose control, but it is something I have noticed. And so like I was saying before, the speedometer is pretty accurate. I don't have a phone holder on this bike. Crap, I just got hit by something. I don't have a phone holder on this bike to actually compare it, but I have tested it. It is really, really close to what a GPS speedometer says. So you don't have to adjust any of the settings or anything like that. And so in my experience, this bike did come with the limiter off, but if it didn't, for you, I'll have something at the end of the video that can show you how to turn the limiter off, because with the limiter, you can't really go faster than eco mode in any of the settings. People like to complain about how law enforcement and cops have been cracking down on these bikes, and just kind of Surons in general and e-bikes in general. But from my personal experience, and I think this is kind of a good rule of thumb, if you don't ride stupid, and if you ride respectfully and don't bother people, they're really not gonna care, but that's up to you. And so we're on a gravel trail now, as I was saying before. But anyways, one nice thing about this bike, and I've actually passed by cops in it going probably faster than the legal limit, and it was kind of obvious that I was above the legal limit for wattage. But cops don't really care about this bike because they look at the pedals and they decide that it's not really worth their time. So if you ride respectful, and especially with this bike, even if you are riding a little over the top, if you have the pedals, cops see that and they don't really care, and your chances are you're gonna be fine. So that's one advantage to get this bike at, especially with kind of the law enforcement situation as of late. And in my city, a lot of people, I have seen a lot of trouble with Surons in general. People got in trouble. And it's not only just cheaper as a Suron, and you get pretty close to the Suron performance. It looks legal. I mean, it's not technically, but it does look legal, and it is a fun bike, and I think it really is one to get, especially now. And so now while I'm riding, I've gotten exactly 10 miles now, and I'm still at 5 battery bars, and I've been riding in turbo this entire time, a lot of the time going full throttle. So that kind of really does show the range really well so far. And so there's a few things I want to point out that are kind of a little annoying about this bike, in hopes that Ride and Time sees them and ideally can fix them. And so the first one is, like, right now, like, look at it, I'm obviously going above 15 miles an hour, but if you look here, it says my max speed for the trip is 15 miles an hour. And I think that's a little annoying thing about the bike, and I'll show you why I think that might be in a moment. So one thing with this bike, so it has speed limits for each mode. And so for turbo, it's unlimited. And then so for standard, the speed limit's 27. And then eco mode, the lowest, is 15. And so what I believe is happening with this bike is that, and actually I can point it out in a moment on the screen if I can get a little bit of speed here. So you'll see right now, I'm gonna go like 25. And so I dropped down to eco and the speedometer cuts to 15, even though I was going way over that. And so I think that might be the issue. For whatever reason, it's using on the lower modes, it just shows the max speed for that mode on the speedometer, even if you're going above that. And that is a little annoying sometimes. And so here, what I think is happening, it's considering that eco speedometer that can't go above 15 for whatever reason, and it is showing that as the max speed for the trip. So there is another thing that annoys me a little more. I'm gonna stop here to show it. So on this bike, the kickstand kind of isn't secure when you're riding. So like if you like bounce the back suspension, like you can hear this sort of clanking while you're riding. And I'm not sure if you've been able to hear it in the video, but it does get annoying. And it's like you generally associate that sound when you're riding that something would be wrong, especially when you like go off something that bottoms out the suspension. And so that does get a little annoying. And so you also do have, and if you're wondering what this is my bike lock. I just like to keep it there. As I said before, I didn't really show it. So I'm going on a stretch of dirt here, just kind of as a little test. Like this bike does have really good grip in dirt, better than it does on the road, it kind of feels like. And I really do like that. And they do call it a dirt bike, and I think that would be a great feature if it actually had just a little more power. And so like, if you go on the Ride and Time's website, you'll see you can like order pegs to replace the pedals on this bike. They don't come with it, unfortunately. And so that is nice if you want a dirt ride, but I feel like you would have to modify it because it just doesn't have quite enough power to ride it like you would a Sur-on. So it's been a little bit since that last clip. In total, I've put a bit over 20 miles on the odometer. Well, the odometer is slightly inaccurate, but Strava is telling me I've ridden right about 20 miles on this entire ride. I've been in a turbo mode that entire time, and so theoretically I just dropped from 5. You can see it regenning between 5 and 4 bars on the screen if you can see it on the recording. And so theoretically that would mean that this would be 100 miles of range, but that's obviously not actually the case. And so I have noticed previously that the 4th and 3rd bars do tend to go away a little faster than the 5th. But this bike is still doing really, really good range-wise. And so I actually just want to go back to a few more negatives I have about the bike, so kind of like counter the positives. So there's kind of a few more minor issues. One thing I noticed, which went away after I rode the bike for a while, but when I first got the bike, for at least the first 50 miles I would say, there was like a metal clinking noise in the front wheel when I would use the front brake. And then that noise appeared again a few times after. But now it's kind of gone away. One thing I have noticed, and it might just be because I rode this bike in a little bit of light rain. I don't know if you could hear that, but the right brake is squeaking. The right brake lever, it's not actually the brake pad. So I could probably fix that with WD-40, but I'm not sure if that's an issue with the assembly or what. And yeah, for the most part, those are kind of the negatives I've seen with this bike so far. Kind of everything I mentioned in this video. And I just really hope, if Ride and Time sees this, I really hope that they can look at that issue with the kickstand, because it does make you think, like, especially when you like bottom the suspension, it makes you think that something broke or something. Just that little bit of tapping from the kickstand. But overall, I think, as I've said way too many times before, I really do like this bike, and I think it's an amazing bike, especially for like how cheap you can get it, like 2100, 2200, and it just does ride really well. Just the range is, I think, the biggest thing for me. Obviously, this isn't a full range test, but from what I've told you, I hope you can make a good decision about this bike. So I'm waiting for it to get a little darker. I actually just passed a cop over there. You can see the headlights in the distance. I'll put a video of that on the screen now. And I kind of just want to talk about, I actually raced this bike against the Talaria XXX, and I'm also going to put that on the screen now. That's the Talaria XXX. This is the GT73 Pro, and we're going to do a race. Oh! Yo! He's gone! Damn, I mean, that just... Yo! Yeah, I had no chance on that. I hope that race kind of gave you an idea of how this bike compares to a Sur-Ron or Talaria. I mean, obviously, everyone knows Talaria's going to win. This just literally isn't as powerful as a bike. But I just want to note a few things in a comparison between like this bike and a Talaria or a Sur-Ron. So that bike in the video is a Talaria XXX, and so comparing this bike to that bike, even so, the rider that I raced, he actually told me that this bike suspension feels miles better, and I agree with that. This is a more comfy bike. It has a bigger seat. It's physically a bigger bike, and it just has a better kind of feel to it in terms of the seat and the suspension. So if that's consideration for you, I would definitely take that into account. So that's like one of, I guess, the biggest difference between this and a Sur-Ron or Talaria is, one, the power, and then also you can see I just dropped to 3 battery bars. I told you the 4th one goes away a lot quicker, but it's regenning back. And I just want to hope that kind of shows you how this compares to a Sur-Ron. It's like not that big of a difference, and especially considering that this one looks a lot more legal. That's actually, I would personally choose to go with this one, just because, I mean, if you want to ride it around, it's a lot less likely that you're gonna get in trouble than if you are riding a Sur-Ron or Talaria. And yeah, I don't think I have much else to say other than if you like this style of content, and if you would be interested in me making vlogs and other videos, please let me know in the comments, and also consider liking and subscribing to show me some support. This is my first video. I'm hoping to get off to a decent start. So without further ado, I'm gonna cut to the headlight test. I just want to show you guys the lighting system on this bike. This is what the tail light and blinkers look like, and then over here's the headlight. It actually is a pretty nice headlight. Unfortunately, it does have quite a bit of wobble, and it tends to move like this when I'm riding, and so that is quite a bit of an issue for me. So if any of you guys do know a fix to that, or if you know I did something wrong, please let me know in the comments. And other than that, that's going to be the end of it for this video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay safe.